The word of the day is bond issue. Okay, who knows what a bond issue is?
A bond issue? You mean like a sexy, hirsute British secret agent?
Nope.
It's from the ancient Latin, bondis issuus, meaning to procrastinate payment in order to save one's ass.
Okay, we're getting closer. Anyone else?
Look, fella, nobody knows what a bond issue is. That's why politicians use the term.
Okay, then I'll make sure it's clear. Basically, a bond issue is just an IOU from the state of California to public investors. These investors lend the money to California, and we pay them back. Plus interest, of course.
Is that all?
Excuse me, I wasn't finished. Before the current California budget crisis, there were usually just two forms of bond issues used in California. The first is called a general obligation bond. It pays for a specific large project that's too costly to pay for all at once, like a park or a prison.
What about Prop 55 on the March 2nd ballot? Is that a GO bond?
It sure is. Prop 55 is meant to pay for building new schools. The second commonly used bond is a revenue bond. These do not need voter approval because revenue bonds pay for things that earn money. Things like toll bridges and power facilities.
Now for a bond of a completely different color.
When California's gargantuan budget crisis began 2 years ago, the state started to use something called a budget-related bond. We had never used these before, for a good reason. One of these is called a deficit financing bond. This is like the $15 billion bond Governor Schwarzenegger and the legislature has put on the March 2nd ballot.
I call it the Economic Recovery Bond Act, which will let the lenders to California and the banks and the people like that get a fair share of the money we owe them.
This will be the largest bond issue by a state in U.S. history. Deficit financing bonds are like paying credit card debt with another credit card.
I made a bargain like that once with Satan.
That's why many economists and politicians think of deficit financing bonds only as a last resort.
Frankly, I don't care what kind of bond it is, just so I don't have to pay more taxes.
Wait, there's more.
Huh?
We already owe several billion on other bond issues we previously floated, not to mention several short-term loans that need to be paid off by June. These, along with our loss of revenue and inability to balance our budget, has given us a very precarious credit rating. This, in turn, could raise the interest on any more money we borrow. So conceivably, if the $15 billion bond issue passes, our future deficit could be worse than it is today. And that could eventually mean an even bigger tax hike and deeper cuts to services. However, if we don't pass the bond issue, well, that could be even more worse. Worser. Well, it ain't good. Because if we don't pass the bond issue, we may have to default on the short-term notes coming up in June, which would give the lenders first claim on any revenues, which would decimate our credit rating, hiking taxes higher and cutting services so deep, lives would be threatened.
So what you're saying is, we're f***ed if we do and we're f***ed if we don't.
That about sums it up. Of course, the governor could just raise taxes now. That's what I thought. And that's the story of today's word of the day, bond issue. See you later.